All right, where I need to look at? Where's my IQ? Just look at you?
Wherever you feel comfortable looking.
Okay, because they got me.
Hi, this is the personal history interview for James Allen. Before we start, can I ask you to spell your name for the camera?
Yes. James, James. Last name as well?
Yeah, please.
Allen, Allen, and I have a suffix, Junior, Jr.
And is it okay that we use this interview for educational purposes for the interviewing class at Prince George's Community College?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. All right, so let's start with the very beginnings.
Okay.
Let's talk about what business or businesses you currently own.
Okay, so the businesses that I currently own, so I have an insurance agency, so I have a contract or relationship with State Farm. Okay, so as of this recording, I don't know if they'll still be around, but they've been around for almost 100 years. But yeah, so I own my insurance industry. I don't own the industry. I own the agency.
Okay. And with that ownership, does that include a specific area or like a region? Or are you tied to State Farm, or can you sell any insurance for your agency?
That's a good question. So I'm tied to State Farm. So so if you look me up, I'm the James Allen Jr. Insurance Agency Incorporated. I have a relationship or a contract with State Farm. So if you come to my office and I have something else up there, that's a problem, right? Okay. So I have a relationship with State Farm. So I'm what they call an exclusive agent.
Okay.
So all I could do is service and sell the products that State Farm offers. Now the good news, Professor Roden, is that State Farm offers many types of insurance, so it's a lot of things to keep me busy.
Okay. If you decided to sell something else, you would have to start a brand new business.
I could keep the business, but I would have to change the contract. So as far as I guess Maryland is concerned, and the IRS, the James Allen Jr. Insurance Agency Incorporated is its own agency. So if in a couple of years State Farm would dissolve, I think that's highly unlikely, but anything's possible.
Right.
What we saw in previous years. I could go switch to another agency where, it's like a free agent. I could become a free agent and sign with someone else.
You're only a free agent if State Farm closes.
Or if they decide to end the contract, or if I decide to end the contract.
So either you would decide to end the contract.
Yes.
Can I ask how long the contract terms are?
So if you looked at my contract, the contract there's no time on it. So it's, when I was going through the interview process, they said, the manager that was making the decisions, he said, when I decide on agents, this is an important decision because this is a 40-year decision. So 40 years meaning the span of one's career,
right?
Give or take. So it's no time. To answer your question, it's no timeline.
You could decide to quit State Farm right now.
Right now.
Change the sign and be like Allstate.
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
And they could decide right now, this ain't working out. You can't sell State Farm no more.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's talk about you. Can I ask your age?
Yes, I'm 42.
Okay.
Okay. I turned 43 in August.
All right.
And this in the coming 6 months.
Yeah. Okay. Well, happy birthday early.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
But maybe you watch this in August and it'll be happy birthday then.
Yes. Yes.
And how long have you owned the business?
I've owned this business, so the agency opened its doors September 2013. So we're going on, 6 years?
5.5 years?
Yeah, 5.5 years, yes.
Okay, let me jump way back to the very beginnings of your early life.
Okay.
Can I ask where you grew up?
Okay, so I grew up here in Prince George's County, in Forestville, District Heights, 2315 Wintergreen Avenue, to be specific.
Really? Same house, huh?
Yes. No, not the same. I owned it. Yeah, but I know that I remember the house. Just how it stands out.
Okay.
So those were my formative years.
Okay, how long did you live there?
We lived there. We didn't move out till I think I was in college, so a good 20 years.
So you lived there for your entire high school, grammar school, middle school,
all of
high
that, yes.
school into college?
Yes.
I think that's rare these days that people have like the same
Yeah, from what I've
house,
seen, because even in my industry, like we do address changes, so people do move a lot. So we had some stability in that regard. There's stability all over the place, but right, I guess that helped because the schools and things of that nature, the neighbors, the friendships that I had the privilege of having.
Okay.
Right, they were all, we actually kind of watched each other grow up.
Tell me about your family growing up.
Okay. So my
parents, siblings.
Yeah. So growing up in District Heights, grew up with my mom and dad, James Allen Sr. Okay. He's from South Carolina, but he was raised in Washington, D.C. And my mom, Mary Allen, she's from Austin, Texas. Okay, so she came, so the story goes, during that time in the early 70s, the government, the United States government was trying to fill all those offices downtown. So they were recruiting all over the place. So my mom came over all the way from Austin to start working at the FBI. Okay. My dad had lived here already. He had grew up here. He was born in South Carolina, but didn't spend too much time. He was raised up here. And while he was up here, he started working at the post office. And if you talk to my mom and dad, my dad said he delivered some mail, and was delivering the mail. He looked, the door was open, and he saw my mom, and they would have to tell you the rest of the story, but they connected.
Right.
And I came along, born in 1976. My parents were married maybe a year before I came.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it a whole year?
Yeah, I think it was a whole year. No, I did the math. Yeah, I did the math. That's something you ponder when you're young.
Everybody does that.
Like when you get into a certain age, you're like, hey. All right.
You did the math for my sister, and that math didn't add up.
Right. Yeah. So, nonetheless, I was the oldest of three, so it was three boys.
Okay.
I'm James Jr., Derek, and Brian. Those are my younger brothers. So we grew up, and I remember growing up. I was always, I guess, fond of my brothers. I was the big brother, so I guess the protector. I remember we would always play games and make up games. For some reason at the time, I guess the Star Trek and Star Wars were popular.
Yeah.
So underneath the table was our starship.
Okay.
And so it was very interesting. So we had a good time as brothers growing up. That was also when the advent of the video game ages. So I remember getting our first Atari.
I had the Atari.
Yeah.
Okay.
We liked playing outside, so riding bikes.
So y'all were middle class.
I guess middle class. Yeah, we were middle class. Yeah, we were fortunate to be. I guess when you look back, yeah, middle class. Again, and I think it has changed over the years what's middle class and what. But yeah, we were middle class. I think that's safe to say. Yes.
Okay. The age difference between you and your brothers?
Okay. So my Derek, my brother, closest in age to me is 3-year difference.
Okay.
And my youngest brother Brian is 5 years.
5 years from you, or 5 years?
5
from
years from me.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a 5-year window from oldest to youngest.
Okay. You protected them growing up.
I protected them growing up, and as we grew up, I protected them growing up, and then as we got older, the sibling rivalries and all that kick in.
Okay.
But,
are you still protecting them?
No, I don't protect. They grown up. They don't need me no more.
Okay. Yeah, see, I asked because I have a younger brother, and our age difference is just under 3 years.
Okay.
And in a lot of ways, I still feel protective over him.
Okay.
Now, he's over 50 years old.
Yeah.
He don't need me to protect him, but I still feel like I need to protect him.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, they do their own thing. So I'm proud of them. They doing well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's them now. Yeah, but back then we were closer growing up.
Okay.
I would say. So now as we got into like high school and all that stuff, so that age difference starts to play in.
Yeah.
So I went to school. So in elementary, I went to school with all of them.
Right.
But my youngest brother I'm in 5th grade or 4th or 5th grade, and he's in kindergarten. So it was as far as school, that disparity, we didn't see too much of each other in school.
Right.
I saw my middle brother Derek a lot more. We actually went to high school together. So that's an interesting story in of itself.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to get to high school in just a minute.
Yes.
Were either of your parents entrepreneurs?
So my mom and dad, they both worked. So my dad was at the post office. Then I remember when Metro came, I remember when they opened the Addison Road subway station. Anyway, he worked for Metro, and that's where my dad spent most of his career. My mom was working for the FBI. But my dad always had, so if you go to 2315 Wintergreen, downstairs in the basement was what we called the TV room. And it was a TV room because there were all these shells and pieces of TVs. Because my dad, he went to Prince George's Community College. His trade, he wanted to be an electrician. So that trade and his skill set helped him to get the job at Metro, because at Metro he was working pretty much an electrician and working down in the tracks and in the system. But nonetheless, so to answer your question directly, my dad he had an entrepreneurial spirit. He had a TV business. So he would go around, I remember on some Sunday evenings or Saturdays, we would get in the car and drive all around Washington, D.C., picking up TVs or dropping off TVs. And I would remember coming home from school or waking up on the weekend. Where Dad? Dad downstairs in the TV room. He'll be back there. And these were the old TVs, Professor Roden. They had that big tube.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is before the flat screen. So they had the big tube, and so we would take it off. So I knew how to identify the tube. He would show me the power sources. But beyond that, I didn't know too much else. But my dad was good at fixing people's TVs. So if your TV got the line in it, or the screen stopped showing, or if the tube blew, my dad could fix that stuff. So that was cool. So yeah, he was doing that. Because of that, we would go down to the electrical store. It was an electrical store down the street at Capitol Heights, down Marlboro Pike. It's not there anymore. I think it's a church now.
Okay.
But it was called the Collins Brothers. So that was a small business in itself. So we would go in there, and the brothers would be in there. And you had to know the jargon. So my dad would go in there and say something that seemed like a foreign language, and they'll come back with a part. Okay. So those were my early exposures to, I guess, entrepreneurial or small businesses. Another big part of our life was our church. So every Sunday and Tuesday for a choir rehearsal and vacation Bible school, we would be at our church. So our church at the time, so my parents were part of starting church.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the church is still around. It's called Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church. I think it's some 42, 45 years old, maybe a little older. But they were, I remember growing up, we would go to the galas, either as a church age. My picture as a little baby would be in there, Yeah. But this is when we first opened the doors, and you see my parents holding me. Like, I was maybe only 1 or 2. Right. So I was, I guess, in on that, if you want to call it, I guess, as a startup, right, if you will. So those were my early experiences with business.
Now tell me about the businesses that you used to go to when you were a kid. Okay. Like the candy store. Or
yeah, so we're at church. Okay, so as we grew up and were allowed to cross the street, we would cross Sheriff Road at the corner from the church was the candy store. Okay. So we would go in there and have a good time. Back then $1 went a long way. Yeah. So you used to get your now laters, a whole long pack, and with the few nickels you had, you could get some little chocolates or what have you. So that was a store I frequented. He ran that. It was kind of like before that. I don't know if there's not too many around anymore, but it was like he had his own 7-Eleven. He was the neighborhood market. Right. Yeah. So it's still a few in the district, but he was the neighborhood market. So you would go there, you get your candy. He would have milk. Because there, the Giant and the Safeway were way around. When I say way around, a couple of miles away. Right. So he served the neighbor, so you could literally walk to that store. Right. So he serviced that during the week. But when we were at church, we might have been the biggest customers. Right. The church, like when the church were open, because all the kids and the teenagers were in between Sunday school and the services. Right, we'll go hang out at the store. Okay. So that was a rite of passage. We're going to the store. Okay. Mama, we going to the store. So we would save our money, so that money was supposed to go. It did go to the offering, but
some of them went to the offering.
Some of them went to the offering. Some of them went to the candy. Okay. Yes, because you needed that candy deal to get through those services. Right. They were long.
I grew up Catholic. Ours was 1 hour. You didn't need candy, but you could get some candy to get through the services.
Our services were long, and they weren't as bad as they were long.
Yeah.
To make a long story short, I would eat all that candy. I would have a headache every Sunday because I would eat. It was getting too much sugar. Right. So I would eat to go through the whole Now Later pack. Or Mambas. Those are the chewy Now Laters, another brand. And then you share eating all your friends' candy. So it was so we'll get home and be And then
Sugar headache?
Yeah, sugar headache. But those were the businesses I frequented. Right, hanging out with my dad, going to the electrical store, being at the church, and and see, my dad was a trustee at the church, so we kind of saw the inner workings. So we would hang around at the end of church, and they're still counting the money. And that's when we would go to the store too. Hey, Dad, can I get $5 because we going to the store? And then we were like, man, why we still here? So nonetheless, growing up, those were my influences as far as businesses. Watching my dad serve at the church, but doing his business with the TVs, then going across the street to the neighborhood mart and visiting the electrical store.
Okay, all right. Let's move into your education.
Okay.
When you were in middle school, who were like your best friends?
What? Say the answer again.
Who were your best friends when you were in middle school?
So my best friends in middle school. So middle school was interesting. So I'll try to keep it short. So I lived in District Heights.
Right.
Around that time, the county they still were busing.
Okay.
Okay, they were busing.
You went through the busing.
Yeah, so So
okay.
So our county, you study the history of our county. To make a long story short, they tried to integrate it by doing the busing. Okay. So I got bused all the way out to Bowie. So I lived in District Heights and went out to Bowie. And I believe it was a blessing in disguise. 'Cause my dad early on recognized, I guess, the disparity or the differences in the educations that were going on within the county. So he said, hey, y'all caregiver, I found a lady that's gonna keep y'all during the day in Landover. In Belhaven. It's not there. It's still there. They called it something else. But so to make a long story short, my dad would drop us off at Belhaven or the church down the street. It was the church down the street for elementary school, but when we got a certain age, we couldn't stay. They didn't serve it. Anyway, that's how crazy the busing was back then.
Right.
But nonetheless, so we're busing from Landover all the way to Bowie.
So your morning commute was District Heights, over to Landover, bus to Bowie.
Yes. We started our mornings at like 5:30 because we had to wake up early.
Ooh,
we had to so it was early. We got there to the caregiver or the babysitter. We got there early enough where we could go to sleep, just lay on the couch for 30, 40 minutes, wake up. She was nice enough to cook us breakfast because her son went to the same school.
Okay.
So we became friends with them. So then we would walk down to the bus. Okay, so you mentioned earlier, you said, James, you had the opportunity to be middle class. Okay, and during that time, where we were bused at, that wasn't middle class. Right. Okay, so I got a lesson in economics and I forget socioeconomics, and so I had to learn. So to make a long story short, my elementary, that was around middle school when we started getting bused. But so District Heights to Landover, okay, then Landover to Bowie. So going to Bowie, so I would ride the bus with kids that weren't middle class. So it was rougher. Right. I had to learn how to fend. So I got two educations. I had to learn how to fend for myself. I had to learn how to joan and fight and slap box so I won't get beat up. Right. And then when we get to Bowie, all the people I rode the bus with would go to the other side of the school. And my classes were, they had the A day, B day, so they would rotate everybody. And then little did I know, I started to realize it then, but unfortunately, in the education system, and I know the interview not about the education system, but anyway, we get slotted, right? So this group is that group, and this group, we think that group more likely to go to college, so we'll put them over here and teach
pre-college classes and
so
remedial classes.
So what I got, yes, you got it. So to make a long story short, so my friends that I rode the bus with, so I was with the middle class. Got to Landover, wasn't with the middle class. Then when I get to Bowie, I'm with their parents were doctors and lawyers.
Upper middle class.
Yeah, upper middle class. Yeah, so it was a socioeconomic thing. So I was like, man, I didn't learn. I remember when my first day. So this was, I'm skipping to, I guess, late. We didn't start getting, but I went to the neighborhood school early on. My dad, I guess he saw something with me or with the education I was getting. So when my brother started getting to school, he was able to start getting them bused.
Okay.
So we went to different elementary schools. But then he got me on the gravy train, for lack of a better term. So I went to school, my middle school, and I guess the most formative years, because that's when you're going through puberty and all that stuff. So I'm in puberty, in middle school, getting a socioeconomic lesson every day.
Right.
So it was a very interesting time.
Was there a race difference at that time?
It was race difference. It was race and socioeconomic. We had it all going on. So you asked me who was my best friend. So my best friend was a guy named, his name was Jason.
Okay.
He was a good guy.
Right.
So we formed a friendship in 5th, 6th grade, and we got to. That's what I was doing. We go over for like birthday parties and sleepovers. He would. So this was. I mentioned Atari earlier. So, you know, when the technology advanced, I guess because they was more upper middle class, they had a Nintendo, and they had the 8-bit while we were still on. And I'm like, my dad, Nintendo. So I remember Mario Brothers was out, and it was interesting because when I was hanging out with Jason, so the thing about Bowie is more, I guess it was designed to be more neighborhoody, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah.
More community. So we would get on the bikes. We'd get on bikes and we'll ride for miles to different people's houses. So that just changed my paradigm.
Right.
And so it was a race difference. So Jason was he was mixed, okay, and you know at that time, right? That was in the 80s. No, not the 80s. The early 90s. That still was cutting edge, right?
Yeah.
So, but nonetheless, but I was exposed to that. But you know, his friends were African American, Caucasian. So we just riding around Bowie. We go get Mikey and Martin, and we go ride and go to the community center and play basketball inside the community center. So it was a different vibe. But that exposure helped me a lot in, I guess, my development. So even though I grew up in District Heights around primarily went to school with African American, but it helped me to kind of see people as people.
Right.
And then in District Heights, my neighbor grew up, so we would play. Remember I was telling you about my brothers and my neighbor. We would play a lot of football in the street. You know, we just thought we were the Redskins or the Cowboys, whoever. And it was literally a little old lady that would watch us.
Right.
Okay, she was Caucasian. So I guess my parents were the first wave of, I don't know if it was gentrification, but so around that time, back in the 70s when my parents moved out to District Heights was primarily Caucasian.
Right.
Okay, so I guess that's the quote-unquote white flight. A lot of white people moved out, so the African Americans were getting those good government jobs, for lack of a better term, and making good money. They were able to move out, so we moved out and lived in District Heights, and you had the quote-unquote white flight, so they moved further out. But Mrs. Benson stayed. There was another neighbor that stayed too. So you watch us play football, and she was literally the sweetest lady. Left a mark on my life because she just loved us so much.
Right.
She would be cheering us on, you know. But like, so if we, you know, that's around the time of the latchkey. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
So I would come home early because Mom didn't get home to 3:30, and when we get home, the bus would get there. So I would walk and open the door. And one day I lost my key, and then went back. And Miss Benson, right, would let us in,
Okay.
right.
So you went to her house.
I went to her house,
for a minute.
right? Yeah,
Right.
and she would give me cookies. Oh, it's all right, baby. Mama be home soon. You know. Anyway, that left an indelible mark on my life, just how sweet she was. But yeah, so early on and even in middle school reinforced it. That helped me understand that people are people when you get past all the socioeconomics and the racial stuff and all that. People are still people.
Right.
So I think that helped me early on. It was some tough lessons, and we could probably do another interview about that.
Oh, yeah. So let's jump ahead real quick to high school.
That's high school.
Your high school experience. Did you went to Bowie High School?
No, I did not go to Bowie. Okay, so went back local to Suitland. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I had it, but so this is my education path alone. But nonetheless, I went back to Suitland, the neighborhood school. But Suitland was I guess a magnet school at that time. So they had a lot of stuff going on. They had a university high school, so they did that to attract people that pre-college. So come to university high school because we're going to get you ready. Right? We're going to get you ready for school. They had, I think still to this day, Suitland is real big on the art, so they had the performing arts program. You could learn how to, they had a good vocational program, so people would go there and go in the back and work on cars or learn how to do hair. So Suitland had it going on. I still believe They're doing well. Class of '94, Suitland, class of '94. But anyway, so yeah, I went to high school with Suitland. So that experience at Tasker, I went to Benjamin Tasker, that prepared me for Suitland, because Suitland had a lot of the same things going on, but I had been exposed to it already. So they helped me. So I was in the class. So here I am at a predominantly African American school, in class with. So the few Caucasians that was at Suitland was all in my classes, because we were in the quote unquote college readiness classes. So that was just watching them go through what I went through.
Oh, okay. So it was like
yeah, it was a flip. Yeah. So that was just interesting. And then just with high school, forming the relationships and the friendships, and that was nice. That was good.
Now, was Jason still your best friend in high school?
Yeah, so Jason, so it was tough because Jason, he still was at Bowie.
Okay.
So we still remained friends through most of high school. So what happened was, when we started driving, so hey, Suitland better than Bowie. No, Bowie, but we go play on football. So we'll go to the football games or the basketball games. So we was able to keep our relationship. Then, unfortunately, we still been in touch. I saw him about 2 years ago. He stopped by the office.
Okay.
Where I have my agency now. But yeah, so we kind of fell out of touch at college.
Right.
Okay. So that was tough. It was. I guess it's just not necessarily tough, but it was.
That's just life.
Yeah, life. The relationships change. Right. We still stay in touch, but.
But you're not 13 anymore.
Right. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
So who were your best friends in high school?
So high school. High school was interesting because I remember.
And did you get bullied because you were in a university school?
No, so it was different. So at Suitland I felt at home. Like I lived right down the street, right? Okay. So the kids that were, I guess, in just a neighborhood school, they didn't mess with you. I rode the bus with them too, but they were in my neighborhood. So we kind of knew, so you knew, okay, to stay away from him because that's, he got a crew and they'll jump you, right? Or stay away from them. So I guess the term is street credibility. Right. So I had enough credibility where I didn't get bullied. They're like, hey, he ride the bus. He in DH, so don't. Right.
So wait. Let's dig into that a little bit.
Yes.
So who were the ones you were in high school that you just knew don't mess with him, don't mess with Keith Jones?
Right.
You can tell their real name.
Yeah. No, I ain't gonna know they because they might be watching. But anyway. Interestingly enough, so when I went to middle school, remember I said I would go to Belhaven?
Yeah.
Okay. Belhaven was rougher than anywhere that busted to Suitland, in my opinion. Okay. So I wasn't afraid per se. It just didn't bother me because I seen all the, like, man, I saw people get jumped off we used to get off the bus.
Yeah.
And people be waiting for the person that was on the bus, and they just you're like, man, what in the world? So I saw all that, was exposed to all that. So when I was at high school, no, I did get bullied. Not that I was the stuff and I was a man, but.
But you had friends.
I had friends, and what I think
you had friends from Belhaven. So who knew?
Yeah, they wouldn't. Yeah, but my friends from Belhaven. See, that's how messed up the system. Was my friends from Belhaven was going to Parkdale, a whole nother school. But to make a long story short, I kind of knew the lay of the land, or I knew how to identify. Don't stay away from him.
Right.
Okay. Or the rough people would be on our bus, but I knew, we might make eye contact. Hey man, hey. I just sit in front of the bus. So when the bus get to a stop, I just, and I had I had alliances, so people knew somebody. Okay, well, when you mess with him, he might get you, and he know him, and so I didn't have any problems. Suitland, I think, accepted it.
Right.
It was like, so at lunchtime we were all, even though we were separated, we were all still Suitland Rams, if that makes any sense. So we saw each other in the lunchroom, and I think if you do, they in the. So they with the VOTEC. That's a VOTEC crew, or they're with University High School. So we did have to get bullied. I think it's just kind of who your friends were.
Right.
My friends, I guess, were different, but we were able to. Even my friend group were able to relate with everybody. So we didn't have problems with bullies. It was just, I think high school got cliquish.
Right.
So everybody just respected the cliques, for lack of a better term.
Unfortunately, the interview is going really long.
Okay.
So I'm just going to move things along. Let's go straight into your business.
Yes.
So Tell me about your career before you actually started the business.
Okay.
Were you working for somebody else or working for
Yes,
yourself?
this is good. Okay, so high school, I stayed local, went to George Washington University and got my business degree. So that's where I started thinking about business and getting more business oriented. Okay, and then when I got into work, so my first job was at the Hyatt, not the Hyatt, one of the hotel chains. I can't remember the hotel chain. I was working
Marriott chain?
Not Marriott.
Okay.
It might have been the Hyatt. It was a Hyatt. So I was working in accounting. Okay. And I didn't like accounting. So I graduated with a BBA in finance. Okay. I didn't make it to Wall Street.
Okay.
Okay. And while I was at college, I struggled between finance and accounting. Finance and accounting are two different things. Yes, they're cousins, but they're two different things.
Right,
Okay. Because they're two different tracks.
Right.
So nonetheless, I started working in accounting. I got a job in accounting. And when I was
with your degree in finance.
with my degree in finance, and
Right.
it wasn't the perfect marriage. It's because accounting, what I learned is it's really analytical.
Right.
Okay, and it takes a certain personality to look at the numbers all day. So that what I did like about my job, so I was doing the billing. So I had to reconcile the bill. So big accounts, big companies would come in and they'll spend thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars at the hotel all weekend. But my job was to pull together the room expenses, the bar expenses, and all of those different expenses and bill them.
Right.
I only worked there for 6 months, okay, because I didn't like the accounting debits and credit element.
6 months and then you out.
6 months and I was out. Now, coincidentally, so at my church, okay, where I was telling you I was real big at the church, the Sunday school teacher was a State Farm agent, okay. So while we would go to the store, remember I was telling you the stories, we would go to the store, we would always admire that agent. His name was Mr. Coates. His name is Mr. Coates. He's still alive and he's still an agent to this day. But he had the coolest car, so he would drive up with the Corvettes and the Trans Ams, come out with the cleanest suits. He had the hat. And this was at church. So when you think back, that's funny in itself. That's almost, but he was just, man.
So he's stunting at church.
Yeah, he's stunting at church, and he was cool. So everybody like, man, what Mr. Coates do? He got his own business. He's an insurance agent. So and then he insured everybody at the church. So everybody had State Farm. And we would go to his office, and we seen him progress. He moved from the small office to the big office, and he had the staff. But he was always clean. What was cool about Mr. Coates was who you saw him at church. That's a problem with church, right? This way at church, you see him in the world. He was the same. So what happened? So going to Sunday school, I'm frustrated about my job. And he's like, so real quickly, I worked 6 months. 6 months I was out. I went to the bank. So I said, let me get back closer to finance. So I found the closest bank the closest way I could get to New York was Citibank. Citibank, big New York, but they were here. And the guy that recruited me, hey, we're going to make you a financial advisor, something.
Right.
So I got there I was a glorified teller at Citi. So I was frustrated because I'm here, I am a year and a half removed from college. What is going on? I have a BBA. I have my friends on Wall Street making big money.
Yeah.
You had friends working at Accenture and working at all the big six at the time, and I'm like at Citibank, a teller. So I was frustrated. And so Mr. Coates said, "Hey, Alan, I heard you at the bank, but guess what? State Farm has a bank now. You should come see me." So I went to see Mr. Coates. This was in 01, 02. I went to see Mr. Coates. I graduated in '98. So 4 years removed from college.
4 years in.
Yeah. So got to start working with Mr. Coates. And that's where it changed. It was like what's the word?
So you're working for Mr. Coates?
I'm working for Mr. Coates, yeah. So Mr. Coates recruited me. I came to work for him. So now I had the opportunity to work for an entrepreneur. Okay. And so I had always admired him because, he was cool. My parents respected him, talked well of him. So anyway, I worked for Mr. Coates. That's where by the time I came to Mr. Coates, I already had my insurance licenses, and I had a banking background. So I was helping Mr. Coates market the State Farm Bank because the bank was new at the time, the State Farm. And the agents were trying to figure out how do you market it. Right. So I had the opportunity to have some success with helping us get records, achieve records, and do some success, helping our clients with vehicle loans and refinancing. I learned the insurance trade. But the biggest thing is I always had an eye on Mr. Coates because I watched how Mr. Coates managed us.
Right.
I watched how they spoke well of Mr. O'Day being when State Farm management would come into the field to visit Mr. Coates. They loved Mr. Coates, and he was respected by agents all around. So it was good to work with him because I saw firsthand what it was, what an entrepreneur looked like.
Right.
Working because I worked, working for him. I had a front row seat.
Okay.
I feel. Yeah.
Let's take a quick pause right here, and we're going to continue our interview on the audio side.
Okay.
We have to get out of the studio right now.
Okay.
But I do want to talk more about Mr. Coates and your introduction
Okay.
into State Farm.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and turn these microphones off and allow this class to come in here and do their thing.
Okay.